Senate approves executive request seeking extension of implementation of 2023 appropriation and supplementary budgets. ECOWAS commits $2.6 billion to activation of counter-terrorism standby force. Ekiti State Police parades alleged suspects behind recent street killings in state capital. Thanks for joining us on the news desk at 3 on NTA NEWS24. We're reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Mina Daniels. Senate has granted expeditious approval for the extension of the implementation of capital components of the 2023 Appropriation Act and the supplementary from 31st March to 31st December 2024. The request for the extension was transmitted by President Bola Tinubu to the lawmakers. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, read the President's communication on the first day of plenary after Salah break.
Necessary to allow for the full implementation of the capital projects contained in the budget, particularly those infrastructure projects intended to improve commerce, address challenges with security, healthcare, and education, and generally improve the lives and well-being of the Nigerian people. As many of these critical projects remain ongoing, I write to request that the Senate considers and passes legislation to extend the implementation of the Appropriation Act 2023 and the Supplementary Appropriation Act 2023 to 31st day of December 2024 to ensure that the provisions of the Acts can be exhaustively implemented, while hoping that this request shall receive the kind, expeditious consideration of the Senate. Please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished Senators, the assurances of my highest consideration and personal regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The extension is to enable completion of critical projects captured in the budgets. The extension of the implementation were earlier effected twice to 31st March 2024 and 30th of June 2024. Meanwhile, Senate Leader Opeyemi Bamidele says there is no request before the Senate to approve the purchase of a presidential jet. The ECOWAS Council of Ministers of Defense has proposed a cost implication of over $2.6 billion annually to activate the counter-terrorism standby force. The proposal was presented at the meeting of the Council in Abuja, which was also attended by finance ministers of member states. Kevin Ewonaye reports.
The proposal came with a second option of $4 billion for a brigade of 1,600 men. Both options are to be considered by the Council with advice from the Chiefs of Defense Staff of member states. It is a big step forward in the realization of the objectives set by the Council of Heads of State and Government at its 62nd ordinary session recently in Abuja, with the aim of establishing a regional counter-terrorism standby force to help countries battling rampaging insurgency and protect the sub-region against unconstitutional change of governments.
This is the time to make additional sacrifices by all member states towards rescuing our community from terrorism and its attendant impact on national economies and well-being.
I'm sure it will be adopted because the Committee of the Head of States have resolved to really fight insurgency and terrorism in the region, and they are committed really to funding this project so that we'll have a unified force that will take care of the terrorism issues and block areas for infiltration into other countries that don't have the same issues of security.
Any of the two options adopted will be presented to the ECOWAS Council of Heads of States and Government for ratification, with expectation that the standby force will be ready for deployment soon to reverse the trend in a region now rated by Global Terrorism Index as accounting for 1/3 of the global deaths from insurgency. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
The federal government and the African Union is working towards providing a sustainable single-digit loans for micro, small and medium enterprises to access affordable credit, which remains a major challenge facing Africa. Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Hadijia, stated this at the opening of the 2024 International Dialogue organized by the federal government and the African Union. State House correspondent Abdulrahman Jibrila reports.
27th of June is here again, and this is a gathering of call to action to address a continental issue using a continental solution.
And I'm convinced that as a continent, we can do something about this. The answer to some of these hurdles is not outside this continent, it's here.
Micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria accounts for 96% of all businesses and has contributed to 46% of the gross domestic product.
And without them, 80% of the current Nigerian workforce will be without employment. These facts provide us with the evidence that if MSMEs prosper, Nigeria prospers. And we can say the same about Africa and indeed the entire world.
The African Union will sustain its global advocacy for MSMEs financing to fill the gaps with a focus on utilizing innovative digital infrastructures, including digital public infrastructure, for removing various traditional barriers in order to enhance financial inclusion.
So what we have done is to assemble a group of technocrats, people that can match the standards anywhere in the world, to come and try or attempt to provide solutions to what these issues are.
With the recent launch of the 150 billion naira intervention fund for the MSME in partnership with the Bank of Industry at a single-digit loans is among other interventions of the federal government aimed at devising the appropriate continental solution for this continental problem. In Abuja, Abdulrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
The National Assembly House Committee on Health Institutions has called on the head of service of the Federation to, as a matter of urgency, grant waivers to federal teaching hospitals and federal medical centers to employ more health professionals to address shortage of manpower experienced in such health institutions. The Chairman House Committee on Health Institutions, Amos Magaji, made the appeal during the committee's oversight functions to federal university teaching hospitals and federal medical centers across the northwest and northeast geopolitical zones. Shehu Mohammed Dati reports.
Against the backdrop of the challenges in the health sector, including the brain drain, where skilled medical workers are frequently leaving the country in search of opportunities abroad. This strained the doctor-patient ratio in the medical centers and consequently overwhelming available workers. The visit of the House Committee is, however, to gather first-hand information on the challenges. Chief medical directors, while giving an overview of the hospital activities and its challenges, lamented over lack of structures, dilapidated existing structures, erratic power supply, high cost of diesel, and most disturbing, inadequate manpower.
Our facilities actually need human resource for health. Like FMC Birnunkudu, we have the least human resource for health in the country among all federal or the other federal tertiary hospitals. And with this, therefore, we certainly need to employ more human resource for health. We have applied for the waivers and therefore trying to employ the necessary staff.
Chairman of the House Committee on Health Institutions, Amos Magaji, promised that the committee would look into some of the needs highlighted, noting that the committee is not in a vindictive mission, but as part of their constitutional mandate to ensure that things are done right in all the federal institutions.
Institution will be looking for waivers on employment, and then an arm of government will keep it for many months without responding to it. We say no to it, and that should never happen in a country whereby the manpower shortage, especially human resource for health, is becoming a problem.
The House Committee visited Federal Medical Center in Guru in Yobe State, Federal Medical Center Azari in Bauchi State, Federal Medical Center Birnin Kudu, and Federal University Dutse Teaching Hospital Jigawa State. In Dutse, Show Muhammad Dati, NTA News.
Security experts are insisting that the federal government should take the lead role in engendering peace and security in the northwest region of the country. Discussing the outcome of the recently concluded Northwest Peace and Security Summit and Good Morning Nigeria, the guests advised that security should be decentralized, with government developing a regional security framework that will address lingering issues accordingly. Ekemini Williams has the report.
At the end of the two-day Northwest Peace and Security Summit, a committee with membership from the 7 Northwest states has been set up to come up with an action plan to tackle the spate of insecurity in the region within the next 10 days. Security experts on the program commended the initiative and noted that if there is political will and drive to implement the recommendations from the summit, insecurity will be addressed within the next 6 months.
More importantly, which I found really interesting, is the fact that the responsibility component would also be indicated in the report and in the action plan. In other words, the stakeholders that were brought together, who among them would have responsibility for implementing what. In other words, a guideline for the implementation of the resolutions of the conference will be contained in that report.
That I believe in the outcome of the summit, having a short communique, having a committee set up, given 3 weeks to come up with a framework and a strategy for implementation. And I expect that strategy to include time frame for each activity identified and to have expected outcome.
Speaking from a point of experience, some of the guests were emphatic that the root cause of banditry in the Northwest stems from exclusion and vacuum in governance. They advised government to include in their action plan rapprochement policies, explore non-kinetic measures, census, and harmonization of federal and state government institutions as an approach to tackling insecurity issues in the region. Ultimately, they insisted that state governors should recommit to inclusive governance and be accountable.
That in the field engagement of coordinating security, the governors have a higher stake. You saw on television recently, one governor complaining out about all the federal security available to him, how he could not use them. You could have asked him, how has he been using his security vote?
The guests also added that the local governments must be allowed to function independently. In Abuja, Ekemini Williams, NTA News.
Ekiti State Police Command has paraded 21 suspects for various crimes ranging from armed robbery, cultism, illegal possession of arms and murder. Tayo Show reports that those paraded include some of the suspects involved in recent killings and unrest in Ado-Ekiti.
Those paraded at the police headquarters in Ado-Ekiti include suspected cultists who were involved in the recent killing of some people in Ado-Ekiti as a result of a clash with a rival cult group. The police public relations officer Sunday Abutu says they have confessed to the crimes, while efforts are ongoing to arrest others who are still at large. A gang of suspected armed robbers who were allegedly responsible for some of the robberies in Ado-Ekiti and Ikere-Ekiti alongside a jailbreaker who connived with his gang members to break the correctional center in Ado-Ekiti that led to the escape of 220 inmates were also paraded. Others were paraded for crimes like conspiracy, stealing, and attempt to kidnap.
Undoubtedly, the command shall continue to prioritize the safety of lives and properties of all the good people of Ekiti State, while warning criminal elements to turn a new leaf, stay clear, or risk facing the full wrath of the law.
Items recovered from them include 2 AK-47 rifles, 4 AK-47 magazines, live ammunitions, 2 locally made pistols, and suspected stolen motorcycles. The police spokesman says the suspects will be charged to court after conclusion of investigation and urged the people to be security conscious.
The Nigerian Police Force Ekiti State Command says efforts are still ongoing to rid the society of crime. In Ado-Ekiti, Tayo Osho, NTA News.
And in view of high rate of road traffic crashes that sometimes results to injuries and deaths, it is therefore evident that a strategy must be put in place to tame the trend. This was the major point of discuss at a road safety stakeholders meeting to sensitize drivers and riders on achieving low crashes on the roads. They affirmed that more than 80% of road traffic crashes in Nigeria are caused by human factors, while over 70% have been attributed to drivers' negligence, which they say are preventable.
Look at the time I'm going to go and renew my driver license, I will use it to get more money. These are issues that we need to look at.
The season where we are, rainy season.
Section 57, subsection 1 of the National Road Traffic Regulations, that is the NRTR 2012 and the 2016 amendment, clearly states that drivers and riders are to undergo minimum of cumulative 9 hours of competence training before every renewal of their driver license.
7 out of every 10 traffic offender that is sent to us there for correctional training, 7 out of every 10, you will find cases like driving without driving license. Driving license is a very sensitive and very critical fabric of the society. Under the United Nations Decade of Action and Injury Prevention, it is our responsibility to cut the accident rate by 50% at the end of this decade. So
Nigerians have over the years been exhibiting a virtue of honesty when they travel for the annual pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, especially by voluntarily returning huge sums they found in the Holy Land. Correspondent Jamilu Ibrahim reports on some 2 Nigerian pilgrims who exhibited the same virtue this year as they are set to return home.
Hajj is a physical and spiritual exercise that inculcates honesty among other virtues in the minds of the pilgrims and strengthens their faith. Nigerians have continued to exhibit this virtue over the years as they go for pilgrimage in the Holy Land. This is the latest Nigerian pilgrim for the 2024 Hajj in Saudi Arabia, Muhammad Na'Allah, to exhibit that virtue as he returns 1,750 euros, which he found in Mecca, to officials for onward delivery to the rightful owner. The pilgrim, who hails from Gumi local government area of Zamfara State, was accompanied to the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria office in Mecca by the chairman, Zamfara State Hajj Commission, Musa Mallaha, where the money was handed over to the Nahakon chairman, General Ahmad Arabi, for further action.
Before we came to this Holy Land, our ulama have already preached that we should obey the rules and regulations of the Holy Land. And alhamdulillah, anytime we tell them to do something, they will do it. So we are happy with that.
This is coming barely 1 week after another Nigerian pilgrim from Jigawa State, Abba Limawa, returned $8,000 and some other foreign currency he found in the Holy Land. The Nahakon chairman says the 2 pilgrims have further done Nigeria proud and boosted the image of the country in the international community. Meanwhile, the Emir of Hadija, who doubles as this year's Jigawa State Amirul Hajj, Adamu Abubakar Maji, has honored the pilgrim who hails from Dusa local government area of the state at an event held in Makkah. We thank the Almighty Allah. This pilgrim has made us proud indeed. This is worthy of emulation by others. The pilgrim says his action was purely out of fear of Allah. Nobody saw me when I picked the money, but I know Almighty Allah saw me. So I later told my friend, who further encouraged me to go and hand over the money to our Hajj officials, which I did immediately.
One of the guiding principles is to be our brother's keeper, not to cheat, not to steal, and not to impede on other people's rights and privileges.
Well, it will be recalled that a 55-year-old female pilgrim from Bungodo local government area of Zamfara state, Hajia Aisha Muhammad Nguruna Huche, had in 2023 exhibited similar virtue as she returned a huge sum she found in Mecca. And that has earned her a special recognition from Zamfara state government, the Sultanate Council and some NGOs. From the holy city of Mecca and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
And that concludes the news desk at 3 on NTA NEWS24. Thank you for watching. I am Mina Daniels.